What's up, guys? I'm Evelyn, and welcome to For a Reason podcast, where I discuss the ways I navigate through entrepreneurship, fitness, life itself, and how everything happens for a reason. Hi, guys. Welcome back to For a Reason podcast. I'm Evelyn, and I'm your host. And today is episode 12. If this is your first time here, hello, welcome. If you're returning, thank you. Thank you for always showing up and tuning into this podcast. And yeah, let's get on with the episode. Guys, first things first, I want to talk about the fact that I'm posting today on a Thursday instead of posting on a Wednesday. I'm sorry. Sorry to you guys, and I'm sorry to myself, but let me explain. This week has been a tough one. This week, I had to face my past version, the one who has the unhealthy habits, the one who is undisciplined, the one who procrastinates, is inconsistent. She was fighting back this week, and there was so much resistance. There was the version of me that I'm trying to become this year, right? And her. And like she was just fighting back. It felt like she was present. All of those habits that I'm trying to get rid of, all those habits that I'm healing from, they were present this week. I was procrastinating. I was lazy. I just felt so unmotivated and low on energy. I was just kind of going through the motions instead of how I have been feeling, where I'm like showing up and excited and executing. That just wasn't there for me. And it was such a hard week for me because of that. And it's so crazy because when it was happening, instead of like nipping it in the bud and being like, no, I think too, because this week is the time of the month for me, and I think I was even more vulnerable because of that, and I wasn't like being self-aware and being like, no, you need to fight back, right? This is not what we do. This is not the vibe, right? But sadly I didn't. I had a week of not the best version of me, and that's okay, right? And that's why I'm like sharing this today, because it's not always going to be highs, right? You're not always going to wake up every day and be ready to go, and not every week, right? And sometimes it's not even about you having an off day. Like, you just have an off week. You could even have an off month. But, right now I'm realizing this week was not my best week. And it makes me sad when I get like that. And it also makes me really like frustrated and emotional with myself. But like I've said in the past, like how you have to talk to yourself, right? I'm not going to tell myself all of these negative words, and I'm not going to be that type of person to myself, because that's not the vibe. So I am going to share how I'm going to how I'm processing this and what my steps are going to be from this, just because you could experience this, right? You're going after all these goals right now. You're trying to become the best version of yourself, and you're going to have off days or an off week like I did. And I just want to share that that's okay, right? And what you should do when that happens. Like I said, this week too, I was just listening to all of my excuses more, right? They were so easy to make and to like just listen to them, right? I was like, oh, I'm on my period. I'm gonna sleep more. I'm gonna procrastinate more. Like, I'm not motivated right now because I'm on my period. Oh, like I had a bad day yesterday, so I'm gonna reward myself today and not do anything and just rest. Like, it was too many excuses this week to where it was just like, okay, now this isn't productive, right? Because there's a difference between being like, hey, I've been working really hard. I need a day where I self-care, right? A day to come back and be 100% because I'm not feeling 100%. that's okay. But then it's different when you have back-to-back days of like, oh, I need to chill, so that was also happening this week to me. I was still like showing up to the gym, and I was still eating quote unquote good, like hitting my protein intake and drinking my water and all that kind of stuff. I was having some cravings, which is totally natural, especially around that time of the month. But I was trying to make sure that I was like, healthier alternatives than like just indulging into my really unhealthy habits. So I'm still proud of that. That was a win for me. The same way of like me showing up for the gym. Like on Monday, I went and did a trail run, and like I still did those things. So I'm still proud of myself because I wasn't fully defeated. But I think there was other parts that did happen, like me not posting on Wednesday like I was supposed to, was like a very defeat for me. Like just because like I don't want that. That's not my thing. Like that shouldn't be a thing for me, right? But like I said, there was just so much resistance, and it was so crazy because when it was happening, I wasn't even aware of it. I wasn't even paying attention to like, dang, the past version of me with all the unhealthy habits, like, is fighting back right now. That's why I'm making all of these bad, unhealthy choices. But yeah, and like, she kind of defeated me this week, like they say you versus you, like she defeated me this week. And I only say that because like, yeah, I had some wins, but at the end of the day, like I just didn't feel in touch with myself in the way of like how I have been for the past, month or more weeks, so it was just kind of like sad, but it was also like, like it's okay. But also, like, she didn't fully defeat me because I'm still here, right? I'm recording today and I'm posting today, so that's still a win. I could have been like, whatever, like, I'll start again next week, right? I'll start new. But no. I'm like, I can still show up. I'm a little bit late, but hello, I'm here. And two, I see that my past version is trying to fight me. There's resistance, and I'm going to fight back. My present self right now that's trying to make the healthier habits, the healthier choices, she is fighting back. I'm fighting back now, right? Like, it probably sounds so crazy. When I talk about it, I kind of hear it. It sounds a little crazy. But, like, your past version is trying to fight your present version, right? But everything your present version is doing right now, you're doing it for your future you, right? And we want to be the great, best version of ourselves, the future us, right? That her that I'm fighting for, that her that has her podcast, she has, she's healthy, she has the body and muscles she wants, right? That her that I'm fighting for right now, me, my present self, my past version is trying to fight that, right? So I'm gonna fight back, and like I said, that's just how when I say you versus you, that's like what I mean, right? And you have to keep that in mind every time. Right now, your present self, everything you're doing is affecting your future you, and your past self is still going to show up, right? All of that unhealed trauma, those untriggered, like those unhealed emotions, those unhealthy habits that are trying to return because you're still building yourself. We're still a work in progress. So we just have to fight back, and you have to be aware that that's going on, because if you're not aware, then you're just going to fall back into those toxic loops. You're going to fall back into that past version of yourself. And then your future you is going to be like, what the heck? You gave up on us, right? So we're fighting back. And, maybe some of you are going to be kind of like, hey, you're exaggerating a little bit, right? Like, you missed a day, but you still posted on Thursday. Like, it's okay. I hear you. Yes and no, right? Because I know the past version of me, she was very so, like, if something didn't go according to plan, this is the way, like, my past version would see it, is, let's say my podcast, my goals, everything is in a room, right? I'm sitting in that room, and something doesn't go according to plan, right? I kind of have a setback. that door of that room would open a little bit. There's a little crack now, right? And my past version would see it as a way out. Like, ugh, we had a setback. Okay, that means we have to give up. We're not meant for this. We have to cut down, right? So then we start letting goals out. We're like, okay, we won't focus on this. Okay, we won't do that. Okay, this is what I can do, right? And that cracked door would be a way out for my past self. And so it always took just a little thing for me to give up, right? It was always, oh, I sucked at this, so I don't think this is meant for me. Because like I said in my last episode was like, I was so afraid of failure that I never gave 100%. So that's what would happen. And then next, I leave that room that's full of all my goals and all my dreams. I would leave it because I was like, oh, I got too hard. Oh, it was a way out kind of thing. But now that I know that that's how I would process my emotions, I closed that door, right? That little crack that happened because yesterday I didn't post, I closed that door and I said, no, I'm sitting in here, right? I'm not stepping back. I'm not going to say, oh, well, maybe posting 2 times a week is too much for me. No. If I'm not giving 100%, how can I even determine if that's too much for me, right? I had a little bit of a down week, like I wasn't at my 100%, but that's okay. So I'm analyzing that and I'm seeing that. I'm saying, okay, I just have to reassess the situation, organize myself, rewrite my game plan, and continue to posting 2 times a week. Because I'm not going to take this small little thing and be like, oh yeah, like I don't think I can. I'm just going to post once a week, right? And the next what if posting once a week is way too much work? And then I'm like, oh, like I had to stop doing my podcast because it became too much work for me, right? Like, no. So that's what's going through my mind right now. And that's why I am taking this serious. Even though it's just a minor little setback, I know how the past version of me would process something like that. And I'm not continuing those toxic loops. So you also have to analyze yourself and realize, okay, my past version, what would they do when something got hard? And you have to do the complete, opposite to that, right? Because it's not about doing the same thing that your past version did, So that's why I'm taking it serious. But I am still giving myself patience and grace because there are things that do happen that I can't control, right? But me not giving 100%, that's something I can control, right? So if I know that my cats make too much noise, I know that my mic is too sensitive, I know that my roommate makes too much noise, those are things I can't control, right? But what I can control is when I decide to record, okay? I have to make sure, hey, if I'm going to record, do it at this time, right? Do it when this roommate isn't here. Oh, do it, my cats are all sleeping. Record, right? Those kind of things. Or if I'm serious and I'm like, hey, I need a designated studio, I need to start working harder to afford to get a studio. You know what I mean? Or figuring out other ways. So and I have said this in past episodes, it's about how you react to situations that happen to you, right? Are you going to allow an obstacle to stop you? Or are you going to say no and overcome it? Right? And reassess the game plan. So that's what's going through my mind. And even though I'm saying that where it's just like, am I going to allow this obstacle to stop me, right? I could have said that to myself yesterday and still recorded and still produce something. But because I was feeling so low and I wasn't feeling 100% and I wasn't mentally strong enough yesterday to, come on here, because when I come on here, I can't help you guys and help you feel inspired if I'm not feeling it, right? And I'm not going to come on here and be negative Nelly or complaining and all this stuff and share that kind of content with you guys, right? There's one part of me being honest and saying, hey, this happened to me, and a whole other thing for me to come on here and just be a humbug, So yesterday I wasn't 100% and I was like, okay, I'm not just gonna force content. You know, I'm not gonna force myself to sit down and talk to you guys if I know I'm not doing good, right? Just so I can say I posted on Wednesday, right? Because it's about quality and not quantity. And so, you know, that's why I also didn't post yesterday. And yeah, I could have forced something, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to do that if I know it's not gonna be my, like, every time I post something, guys, I'm happy about it. I'm proud of it. And I don't want to do that, just post it and then be like, ugh, it sucked, but whatever, I'm posting it, right? So that's the other thing when you're chasing after your goals or you're doing things, we don't half-ass things. We don't want to just do something because we said, okay, like we said we would and we half-ass it, right? Like imagine if I did this with this podcast too. Every time I recorded, I was just like, oh yeah, I said I would have a podcast, but like it's shitty quality. Then what's the point, right? What is the point? The point is to, and I'm not talking about my mic or my camera or my studio, right? I'm talking about the content of me coming on here and talking. That's what we're talking about when we say quality. But yeah, so, and that's what also that friend that I talked to yesterday reminded me of, was just like, you don't want to just, you know, like if I have to take a moment and I didn't record yesterday and I didn't post yesterday, that's okay if that's what I need to do to make sure that the content I am producing is quality. And she reminded me of that. So it was really helpful to talk to her yesterday about it. And that's the other thing, right? Is like I have mentioned in the past, is like the environment you have around you is really important, right? And the people you have, like, can you talk to your friend or can you talk to that relative or that person and share how you're feeling, and they're gonna understand and either motivate you or push you to continue, right? Or are they just gonna like, because, you know, this friend, when I talked to her and I said, hey, like I'm having an off day, and I was honest with her, right? And I was like, hey, I haven't recorded. She could have been a humbug, right? She could have been like, wow, you should just give up. You suck. Like, you said you would post on Wednesdays and Sundays, but you're not. Like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this anymore, right? Like, imagine if that's what she would have said to me. That would have been even worse. But, like, because, you know, I'm trying to be more aware of who I have around me, and I felt so comfortable talking to her about it and just being honest about where I was, and I'm not, like, putting up a front. And she was also so helpful to help me understand, like, hey, it's okay, right? Like, you want to have quality content, you know, if you have to take a break, that's fine. So I appreciate her, and I know you're listening. So thank you. I appreciate it so much. And that's like the other thing too, is like, even though I know I didn't record and I went and met up with this person, my friend, I knew it was the right choice for me in that moment, because she is such a, you know, when I talk to her, I know that she has my best interest too, you know? I think I'm wording that right. But she has, you know, she's gonna tell me like yes or no to certain things. And I knew that me hanging out with her was what I needed to do. If I knew like it wasn't, I probably would have just stayed home, not talked to anybody. But I knew that I kind of needed that. And after I hung out with her and talked to her about it, I felt so much better and so much more at peace with myself. And the fact that I was like, okay, like I'm not producing something today, I'm not posting an episode, that's okay. So that's why, like, how I said in a previous episode about your environment, like, that's why it's so important, because if you just have toxic people around you, then when you have an off day or you're feeling low, if you can't reach out to the people around you and communicate and talk about what's going on, they're not going to be able to help you in any way, because if you're down, they're celebrating you're down, right? But instead, like, if you have people around you that do have your best interest in mind, yeah, that's the word, best interest in mind, then they're going to help you through that. They're going to make you feel better and understand that it's okay. So that's why it's so important who you have around you for your low days. Because if you're like, oh, there's no one I can talk to when I feel unmotivated or undisciplined, or when I feel depressed or sad, whatever it is, if you're like, there's no one around me that I can talk to, that is a clear indication that you need to change the people that you consider your friends or your inner circle. And you need to realize that they're just not good for you. And that's why you have no one to talk to, right? Because you know that they're not going to be able to cheer you up. They don't care that much. They don't have your best interest in mind. So yeah, that's a little side note to what's been going on with me. But it's something that I realized, and I want you guys to realize too, for when you have your low days and you have your off weeks, or you kind of have setbacks, is think about the people you have around you. But guys, so my game plan, okay? Like I said, I'm not gonna step back and be like, oh, I'm only gonna post one time. No, that is not the vibe. That is not what's happening at all. So what I'm doing is I am organizing myself. So thankfully my job that I have it's very flexible with my schedule and stuff. So today I didn't go to work and I had more of a me day. I woke up, I made sure I slept enough hours to where I can feel really good about, myself mentally and everything. I went to the gym, I had breakfast, I had lunch. Like, I'm trying to take care of me and do everything I need to do. But I also I'm organizing myself, and it's not completely done yet, right? Because you can't just quickly organize yourself and then you're good. But one thing I did do for my podcast is, so like I said, you're reorganizing yourself, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm reanalyzing what's going on. Okay, my obstacle is this. I'm having a hard time posting on Wednesdays, right? I don't know why. It's really hard. It's probably because it's in the middle of the week and I have other stuff that I also have to do. But I'm like, okay, what is going on? How can I get over this obstacle? So I'm like, okay, I have to be more organized. I know that I have been procrastinating when I'm supposed to record, right? And then I'm not recording and I'm not doing what I should. And so like, I need to record in advance so I have enough time to edit anything that I need to edit or to post it or all of that fun stuff, right? And so I also am being aware, and during this time that I'm reorganizing myself and reanalyzing my situation, is I am taking full responsibility for anything that I am doing, that I am in control of, that I need to change, right? So it's me posting on Wednesdays. What is my problem? Why can't I post on Wednesdays? Why is it so hard for me? Oh, that's because on Monday when I should record, I'm procrastinating it and I'm not prioritizing it. So then what happens? Tuesday comes along and I'm still not prioritizing, or I edit that day, or I don't record that day because I'm still procrastinating it. Because like I said, I have other responsibilities too that I have to attend to, right? So then I'm behind. Then what happens? Wednesday, my roommate, he has that day off. He's here all day. I have to go to work. By the time I get out of work, it's already 4:00, okay? Then that means he's here. I can't edit. There's noise going on. I can't edit. I can't record. There's noise going on. So then what happens? I end up either recording once he leaves to go somewhere, right? And then on top of that, I have to edit. And then it makes it even harder because I still have to go to sleep at a certain time. So I'm doing all of these things to myself. I'm making the wrong choices and it's setting me back. So I'm taking full responsibility. Hey, you've been procrastinating. You need to make it a non-negotiable when it comes to recording, right? So that means I need to record on Mondays. The other thing too is like, no more of this, like, oh, I need to chill. Oh, let me take a nap. Oh, like all of these things that I'm making these excuses, right? Like, that's something else that I need to take full responsibility for, because a majority of the time I've been recording after I get out of work, right? And then because I do that, I end up being like, when I get out of work, I'm super tired and I'm like, oh, I'm going to eat some food and I'm going to take a nap and then I'm going to record. When really I shouldn't be doing that, right? Because I need to prioritize my recording because I have a limited time, a limited window of when no one's making any noise, I'm here by myself, that kind of stuff. So if you're facing an obstacle right now, right? Don't, like I said, you're in control. Really look at it and be like, is this obstacle here because something is trying to test me? Or is it here because I'm, not making the best decisions, right? Like, what did you do that put you in this position, right? Did you go hang out with people when you shouldn't have? Did you stay up late when you should have went to sleep early? Really look at what your choices and what actions you're making that are causing you to, make these obstacles. Because not every obstacle we come across is placed there by the universe or by somebody else, to test us. Sometimes it's because of the choices we make that lead us to that obstacle, So you need to analyze, what am I doing now that's causing this obstacle, right? So that's what I did. I'm organizing myself. I'm really analyzing this obstacle and I'm like, okay, why is this happening? How did I get here? Now that you see the obstacle and you understand, you take full responsibility for what you're doing that causes you to get there, then that's when you can really get organized and you can rewrite your game plan, right? And because the idea is not to be defeated by these obstacles and not be in control of our lives and blame it on everything else outside of us, all these other little factors, right? Because imagine if I did that, right? If I was like, yeah, I stopped recording because my podcast was so hard to record because I didn't have a studio and my cats made noise and my roommates made noise and all this stuff, right? Or sometimes I do hit a creative wall and I'm like, what the heck am I going to talk about today, right? And imagine if I let all those factors, then I honestly wouldn't, I'm at episode 12 now, which I'm so proud of. And I've faced all of these obstacles multiple times. And if I allowed them to win and I allowed them to be the reason why I'm not doing what I'm doing, then I would never accomplish anything, right? And that's the thing that I'm identifying is that's the reason why a year would pass by and I'm not different, is because I'm allowing these things to defeat me. But that's not the vibe. This year it's about execution. It's about change, right? It's about it's about still moving forward, right? It's about being disciplined and being consistent. And so I am now I created for myself a content schedule, and I think I'll post it honestly on my Instagram, just kind of give you guys an idea and a visual of what I created. I do have it on my iPad, so I'm going to kind of look at it. But I wrote it out from Monday to Sunday. And my other thing that I'm trying to keep in my head is this schedule is non-negotiable. Negotiable? Yeah, negotiable. Non-negotiable? But yeah, it's non-negotiable. This has to happen. I have to need this as much as I need to breathe, right? So maybe this is something you need to do when you reorganize yourself is if you're creating content, create a content schedule for yourself. If it's just you showing up for the gym, really sit down and look at your schedule and make sure you set it, right? And remember in your mind. And that's something from episode 10 with Sarah that she had mentioned was it's a non-negotiable, right? You showing up for the gym, non-negotiable. If you're trying to learn a new language, non-negotiable for you to sit down and study that for an hour or two, right? Any goal that you're working on, we have to make it a priority. So much as if it was to breathe, right? You know how they say once you want success as much as you need to breathe, that's when you receive it, or that's when you get there, right? I don't know if you guys have seen that quote, but I'm that's so true. It's I need to be more, disciplined and really set my boundaries when it comes to me recording my episodes, when it comes to me, doing all that fun stuff. So I'm going to post it and show it to you guys on Instagram, but I'm making sure to where, right, guys, you guys know I post Wednesdays and Sundays. So I'm making sure that Sunday, when I post my new episode, I'm also recording my Wednesday episode, because if I record on Sunday, then I have 2 whole days to edit, even though I don't need 2 whole days, but then I already have my episode and 2 days to edit. So my thing is, I have those 2 days. I will also create, because I normally post on Instagram when I'm gonna, I post my episode on there. So it's also creating my Instagram post on that Monday, and it's editing my content. Then on Tuesday, because on Simplecast, that's my host for this episode, is on there I can schedule when to release this episode. So I want to make sure that everything's edited and ready to go on Tuesday, not Wednesday, Tuesday, and schedule my episode. So when Wednesday comes, it's just ready to go. The same with my Instagram post, it's just ready to go, because I need to make that a priority and be like, no, this is what I need to do. And that's what I have been doing, but not 100%. I haven't been very disciplined and very stern where I'm like, it's a non-negotiable. This has to happen kind of thing. So that's my idea. Then when Wednesday comes around, it's brainstorming for my Sunday episode. And then on Thursday, I won't go to work, right? Because sometimes work gets in the way of me recording. I wouldn't go to work on Thursday, and I would record on Thursday my episode, right? And Thursday, my roommate's not there, and it's going to be more chill day. I'll have more time to record since I'm not going to work and all that kind of fun stuff. And so that will be my day that I record for Sunday's episode, because then that gives me a whole 2 days as well, Friday and Saturday, to edit, create my Instagram posts, to publish it, or well, to schedule the episode on Saturday to go up for Sunday. So that's my thing, is I need to make sure that I record, edit, and everything's ready to go the day before I actually post, right? Because then I'm ahead. But if I'm like, oh, I have till Sunday, oh, I have till Wednesday, then that's what allows for procrastination, because I think I still have that time. When I need to start saying, no, we have to have it ready by Saturday. No, we have to have it ready by Tuesday, right? So that's like how I'm reapproaching the situation, because like I said, I'm not going to sit back and be like, oh, I'm only going to post 1 day out of the week, right? Maybe that could be a thing eventually in the future, but I really doubt it, because that's not what I want. I just want to do, 2 times a week, and I have been doing that. It's just, I need to be more disciplined, stop procrastinating. And the other thing too is giving myself Saturday to start brainstorming for Wednesday's episode, because then that Sunday, that's my thing, is like, if Sunday comes, I have no pressure that day, right? I have no pressure to be like, oh, I still need to record, oh, I still need to edit, oh, and then publish it, and then post everything on Instagram, right? No, if I'm ready to go by Saturday, you know how easy my Sunday will be? I'll just be like, yeah, it's gonna publish at this time, right? And that's just being unprepared, setting myself up for success. Because as of right now, I've been setting myself up for failure. And each time, yes, that's the thing with procrastination, right? Is we procrastinate, but because we still succeed, we're like, oh, we can do that. We can do it. No problem, right? So that kept happening to me. And I'm like, no, right? Because procrastination is an unhealthy habit of my past version of me. And I'm not continuing that toxic loop anymore. So, yeah, that is my content schedule. And I'm going to post on my Instagram to give you guys a better visual. And maybe that'll help you. So if any goal that you have, like, because if we schedule it and we make the time for it and we keep that in mind, like, this is scheduled, right? Like when you have a doctor's appointment or when you have work, you show up, right? Because you're like, oh, like on the schedule, it says I have to be to work at 6. You're going to be there. And it has to be the same way for our goals. The same way for everything we're trying to do. we have to be serious about it and be like, dang, we have to show up, right? And the other thing that I'm keeping in my mind is non-negotiable. Like, it has to happen. I have to record and edit on these days. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to not do it. So those are the two things that I'm really keeping in mind since I realized that I have been procrastinating and the past version of me has been kind of showing up and trying to resist and fight back. And I'm going to fight back too. My present self is fighting back for my future me. But yeah. So guys, yeah, that is all that I have today. I did have some coffee, so if I'm talking really fast, it's because of the coffee. But guys, I'm so excited. Creating the content schedule and just remembering that word, like I have it ingrained right now in my head, is like, these are non-negotiables. Like, I'm recording on this day, I'm editing on this day, no doubt about it, right? There's nothing that's gonna stop me, you know, unlike things that we can't control, right? But I am taking full responsibility for everything I do control. And I love coming on here and talking to you guys and doing all this stuff. And now that I'm recording for YouTube and posting this, it's even more exciting, and it is a little bit more work now, right? So that's why I have to be really organized and create this content schedule for myself and really stick to it. And the same for you guys, right? Because we said it's execution and it's about change this year, y'all. Like, it's about being a better us by the end of the year and not being the same person. So, organize yourself, really analyze the obstacle, and understand what things do I control and what do I not, and how did I get to this point. And once you figure out those things, you take full responsibility, create a new game plan. This is what I'm going to do. Create that schedule and really put it in there and say, this time and this time is when I'm working on this goal, when I'm working on myself. And it's a non-negotiable time, right? That's what we need to keep in mind as we progress towards our goals. But guys, let me, before I say farewell, we already know that we do the quote. I actually have it on my iPad. Show 1 second. Let's see, go. Okay. Dang. Okay. 1 year from now, I want to be able to look back at my life and say, girl, you really did believe in yourself and it worked. Guys, every time I do this app, and y'all probably think like, ugh, only because I have it on my iPad and I can't move my iPad, but I really do believe that things come to us when we really need to see it. And I think that's why a lot of these align with what I'm talking about. But yeah, one more time, 1 year from now, I want to be able to look back at my life and say, girl, you really did believe in yourself and it worked. That's the vibe, guys. That's the motto for this year. But guys, I appreciate you for always tuning in, for always showing up for yourself, even on the hardest days. And even when we have setbacks, when something's trying to fight us back, we fight. We fight back. We fight even harder, right? Because we're working towards the higher version of ourselves, the best version of ourselves. And yeah. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you for always showing up. And remember, everything happens for a reason.